10 minutes ago, I interrupted a group of conversations, breaking your focus from the artwork as you now look around at the air and the space. 1,757 centimetres is the longest wall in the room. 1,468 centimetres length of the wall opposite. 816 centimetres length of the wall on the left side of the room, or right, depending on where you're standing. 625 centimetres length of the wall that includes a boxed-off area. 289 centimetres width of that room's entrance. 236 centimetres length of the other wall with the double doors. 2 double doors, that are either your exit or entrance, but always both. 70 centimetres long and 19 centimetres wide, gridded windows, that keep the stability of the glass stronger. Head height view and below, you see a white cube studio. Above I see grey. Metal, electricity, light sensors, 35 windows, 20 smaller half windows, 15 LED lights measuring at 135.6 centimetres long. White piping mimicking the top structure of the studio, moulding around the sharp angular roofing. A similar mapping of the space is made from my cables connecting the sound together, acting as a fine line contrasting against the white wall, making the walls feel a bit more industrial. Black power cables are the most noticeable and annoying thing to me, but the space's most necessary quality. In the middle of the room I've noticed red-like blood splats on the roof that were uncleanable. A neighbour to them, wax-like bigger flats. Now that I'm noticing more up here, holes, tape, bolts, string, hooks, and a precious reminiscence of an artwork here from the year before. Perfectly represented in a wooden block with a couple pieces of string hung from it, blending in with the 2 wooden boxes opposite that have been designed specifically for someone's work. A light sensor directly in the middle of the longest wall, looking over the entire room, reaching both corners at the exact same time. Another one in the corner on the right, but there isn't one on the left. Why is the symmetry not considered? One behind you in a separate section, mixing in with the other boxes, cables, and all the other assets the room demands that I don't understand. Being the biggest open-plan room, it's mixed with different materials that have came through these doors. A dismantled wooden structure, the precise assemblage of stacking. My voice getting swallowed by the negatives or bouncing off the 7 sides of a heptagon. When the silence in the room first started, you subconsciously would have heard the hum of the electricity box and the projectors. I now hear it constantly. Maybe my sound has changed the space in between the artworks, receiving them differently, blurring that barrier between interactive art. Not determined through any form of floor barriers, just the subconscious. Nor like a museum in Amsterdam, where the ways of using triggered alarms to alert viewers if their proximity to the artwork is too close. It's not surprising that the trade-off between aesthetic and noise has not been taken up generally. Your eyes would be no closer than 13 centimetres to that painting, exploring its finer details while suspecting the gallery code of conduct. The space between your ear and the speaker, different, as you're all stood in different places. 368 centimetres long, 244 centimetres wide, 129.5 centimetres in its depth. The elephant in the room, protruding out, cutting into the space, forming a separate segregated area. You can't see those on the other side, making you feel isolated from the whole space, but intimate with this one. Acting like a stiff white curtain, I am totally blind. Added to improve the space and shape in the room, but it only makes it look more awkward. The space adapting the work, or the work adapting the space. On the other side of the wall, a slight crack of light peering over the top of it, reminding me of a door left ajar in the middle of the night. Flooding in from the windows above. All blue apart from the green in the right corner. Trees, swaying back and forth as the leaves catch a glimmer of the sun. Seeing the rest of the roof in the distance makes it seem like infinite. A gawky sawtooth roof, always reminding me of a glamorous greenhouse. Most of the roof is made out of glass to give the most natural light, reflecting off the uneven textured walls and rough bumpy flooring. The floor is covered with bumps, paints, marks, dents and scratches. a section of long dents in the middle of the room that seemed like it's been carved into the lino. 3 millimeters dent into the floor. Parallel lines gradually separating further from each other. The more I stare, they begin to look more like an abstract drawing. A 12cm length and 7cm wide dent just behind it with crusted edges that are mounded like a mini volcano. Dust caught in between its crevices. The same dust that stuck to the bottom of your feet, adding a little bit more grit and noise to your step. Its edges hoarding the scraps of dirt and studio materials. Materials that are unwanted, undesirable, unnecessary. The pre-art is disregarded. Cleaning the first imprints on the university like they're irrelevant and unconnected, even though they've shaped many of our designs. Peeling off a saggy piece of old gum strip, ripped off another 6 layers of old strip, revealing the pink-coloured wall beneath, which seemed to be the original wall. Obsessively trying to get rid of the imperfections and failures, but they're still there when I look. The studio that was there before. Still that hole that hasn't been filled up, or seam lines in the walls where the two boards don't quite meet. A 125cm by 30.9cm piece of gum strip that's beginning to flake off the wall where it hasn't been applied properly. Or a dry piece of polyfiller where we've forgotten to sand it down. 2 crumble holes that have been made from a drill cracking the paint as it drills into the wall, central to the dip behind the casted sheets. Or the old pencil mark, where we've wanted to get something perfectly in line, but failed as we've forgotten to rub it out. These marks we want to forget suddenly become the most important asset. White emulsion paint, gum strip, MDF, and a splat of polyfiller makes these studios.